Yeah. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture. But let's start with some quick and breaking news. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Tiger King did not get pardoned. Moving on. Conor McGregor lost his UFC return fight. Bernie Sanders is the 2021 greatest meme so far. Apparently, King Kong is worthy of Mjolnir. If anyone's watched the trailer, hey, you'll get the point. Tom Brady, ladies and gentlemen, is going to the Super Bowl. And that's right. As of tonight, This Week in Pop Culture has a merchandise page. You can go to www.artistclub.ninja. That's right, artistclub.ninja to check out our cool merches, just like this shirt right here, and many others on our page. But now, let's start the show. Welcome to another fun and exciting edition of This Week in Pop Culture. My name is Arash. With me always, right below, is the huskyable one, Mr. Michael Mayhem.
Hi. Bow wow
And you
wow.
can catch this pretty lady every Friday, 8 o'clock, with her show called The Tingling Tea. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Leslie Frye.
Hello, everyone. I missed you.
I know,
Hi.
missed you too last week. Of course, a little bit today. We're a little short-handed. Sammy is off doing a project, and Mayhem's. I mean, not Mayhem. Bergy's doing a little bowling, so hopefully he gets to finish his bowling championship game and make it to us just in time. But let's get to some fun news, and that's something that we've played back in the '90s. If you're a big arcade person, NBA Jam. Well, would you actually watch a documentary like a sports video game? Well, NBA Jam is about to just do that. For one of the most popular games of all time, this game was super easy once you got the handle of it. Just like Mortal Kombat, the video game, the NBA Jam was no stranger to their fair share of controversy. From Michael Jordan not being in any of the video games to Shaquille O'Neal to only being available to the arcade version, and not only for the Genesis, but that was also for the Super Nintendo generation. Would you be interested in a documentary based on the NBA Jam game? Mayhem, let's start with you.
Of course. He's heating up. Come on. I was
Right?
going to hear those catchy puns.
He's on fire.
He's on fire. Listen, I totally trashed the Mortal Kombat movies for the last two episodes, for sure. But I would spend my money to watch NBA Jam documentary for sure. Like me and my dad used to have, I wish I had the old PlayStation. Me and him used to have a rivalry where he used to make up certain, I'll say acronyms or certain names. He'd be telling me to go suck or whatever, kiss his butt, whatever. And this is just so dope. Michael Jordan was also featured, but he was known as the player. You know, it wasn't really officially him. It's like Michael Jackson on that song. I always feel like somebody's watching me. You know, so like I would definitely see it. Why not? Like, what do we got to lose? It might spin off into something different. Let's go for it. Definitely.
Well, actually, to cut you off, that was for NBA Live when Michael Jordan retired during the NBA Live
He
game.
was in NBA Jam Tournament Edition. I put
The
$50 on it. Yes, he was the player. I know they did it for NBA Live as well, but he was shadowed out, and then he had another, but I think red stats. That was like the highest you can go. Trust me
Okay.
on this.
All right. So I believe you on that one. Leslie, did you play NBA Jam? Because I remember I did a quick little video for you guys for the Bitten Apple TV, especially earlier last year at PalCon, where I explained to a lot of people that Shaquille O'Neal is only in the arcade version.
Yeah, you know what? I did not play it like all my friends did, but I definitely would watch a documentary about that. I mean, with things right now on Netflix like High Score and the games that made us, who wouldn't want to see what happened with that franchise and why it became so amazingly popular in the 90s? So absolutely, I will watch that documentary, every bit of it. anything that has to do with video gaming before it became, these platforms that we all know of today, anything from arcade to platform, it's interesting stuff. So yes, I'll watch it.
All right. Well, I remember as a kid growing up, I lived in Glen Cove, and Acclaim's building, which owned the NBA Jam game, which included Mortal Kombat. As a kid growing up, I wanted to get a job at Acclaim, and then all of a sudden, Acclaim was, well, we all both know NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat made their way to Midway, and that was the end of Acclaim as we know it as a video game company. Then became the controversy part of all of a sudden Shaq made it on the cover, but it was NBA's Showtime, and the next generation version of NBA Jam. And I remember, I believe for Xbox 360 and for the PlayStation 3, they did release NBA Jam, but the hype was over at that point in time, right, guys?
Yes.
At that point in
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
we kind of missed the hype, and now we got NBA Underground, which is their next version. Except we don't have the on fire and your ball catching fire, which was the fun part because I always love beating that friend, and we all know everyone used Golden State Warriors as a kid growing up. Everyone used Golden State. If you weren't playing as Golden State, you were easily losing whatever tournament you had.
It depends.
Okay.
Because you
Well,
know
okay.
what?
So who was your
You know
team?
what? You know what? I was a Knicks boy. I'm sorry. I grew up in a time when we had the red button on the back of the cable box, and we were getting that free cable. Don't tell
Uh-huh.
nobody, allegedly. And
Allegedly.
the Knicks used to make the playoffs all the time. Sure, we'd lose because, let's say, Patrick Ewing would lay up instead of dunk the ball, which is actually a reference in soul. But yeah, no, I was a Knicks fan, and me and my dad used to go back and forth. It wasn't even being on fire. What about the dunks, Hash? You forget the
Yes.
cinematic dunks? Like you would fly off the screen and come, and you'd break
Oh,
the
no, yeah,
backboard,
exactly.
a glass.
Exactly.
Come on!
Yes.
If they
And
do a
the whole
documentary and they show some stuff like that,
Yeah.
I think my fanboy and me would die. He would just like die happy. He just I can rest in peace.
eventually about some time. Leslie, have you ever played NBA Jam? And if you did, what was your go-to team playing the game?
I never played it, but if it was my go-to, if I had one, it would probably be the Lakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember,
was a
I
big Lakers
believe
fan.
Vladi, Divac, and James Worthy were the ones on the game. And for you, Mayhem, it was Patrick Ewing and John Starks Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley? One of the
Yeah,
two. But
Oakley was there.
Oakley was there. But then the Super
Speaking-
Nintendo edition, they kind of jacked up their faces. Yeah, speaking of what, Oakley?
No.
Yeah, they did.
I was
They
going
did
to
for
say
sure.
Patrick Ewing. I had him on a flight one time when I was a flight attendant. His feet were about this big, and I'm not lying. His feet were huge.
He's size 20 feet. He's
Oh
got
my
size
God.
goose. Speaking of stuff that we're looking forward to, I guess not so much anymore, but we're on the Warner Brothers media bandwagon, and that is the departure of Ray Fisher. It looks like the investigation is over, and Ray Fisher has said some things. Even some of his cast members had his back too. Now Warner has cleaned their hands of this and has released Ray Fisher from all future DC projects. Do you think Warner Media made a terrible move?
Hell
Mayhem,
yeah.
we'll start with you.
Hell yeah. To this day. Once again, this is probably like the third time in this month that I've said this. Ray Fisher was our cyborg. And if you look up the tweets about Ray Fisher, if you look up some of the Instagram posts and all this other stuff, everybody else felt the same of all colors. Ray Fisher was the interesting person on Justice League. So as far as how they handled it, it sends bad waves because it's just like he was calling out something that was wrong. It's not like he had a personal issue. Was wrong, and there were other people who complained about it. Unfortunately, some of the other stars can't come forward about it due to NDAs or whatever. But it's just like, why? Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? You had such a good thing. Once again, DC's looking at the short game. They handled this wrong. You need to honestly, DC, you need to terminate your contract with Warner Brothers. You need to find another company, honestly, or just rework some things because they're leading you straight into the gutter. You're not catching up with Marvel. Your movies aren't hitting. You're losing great actors that can help you build your franchise. And now it's just like, what are you good for except animated films and possibly shows? And you
Ooh.
kind of lose that too.
Yeah. Leslie, do you feel like that this is, I don't like to say this in a weird way, but has this put a black mark on DC, especially by getting rid of Ray Fisher? Especially with trying, I mean, I don't know how to explain it any better, but with Ray Fisher campaigning and several other of his actors agreeing with Ray Fisher, it seems like Warner and DC are just turning their backs not only on him, but two of their franchise actors.
I think a lot of what we are seeing right now, and Warner's and DC's declination of not wanting to come out and speak to the public about it, even though an investigation supposedly ruled that nothing happened. The thing is that they still should have made a statement, because they realized that there was a fan base that was following Ray Fisher. They knew that people loved it. They also knew that there are other people that are probably, that have been discussing about the bad behavior on the director's part. So they should have come out and made a statement. They shouldn't have just let it be released into the media that the investigation was over and that they ruled that there was nothing there. They understand that they still have to groom this fan base, and they also have to understand that the thing that's missing with them and how they deal with their fans, Marvel is doing it. So by not saying anything, by not coming out and making an official comment about it, or something in writing about Ray Fisher no longer being a part of this DC universe, and possibly then looking into something else, I think that it puts a mar on that. Not only that, their whole agenda right now is to do to heighten people of color. And by doing this and not having that discussion with this man, and even trying to come to some kind of agreement with him, it's not good. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. You can say whatever you want to say, and you can do whatever you want to do, but you can't show me that you're doing it. Then I don't believe it.
Right. It seems like Warner Brothers they're just washing their weird hands with it. What do you do, Mayhem? It seems like it seems like whatever the heck is going on with DC, it seems like it's their strange version of the reset button, and they're just starting their sort of rebranding of DC in just a wrong and negative direction. Hopefully,
Can I just interject?
Yeah.
I think what is going on here is, and I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. Okay. It could be just because there has been so much transition and change in both DC and Warner Media that they dropped the ball in this and didn't really know how to handle this. I know there's been a lot of movement there. I know that they're moving people around, but they definitely should have put their hand on the pulse of things and said, look at how the fans are reacting to this. We have an African-American man who is speaking out. We don't want to look as if we are being dismissive of what this man has to say. How does this look that we have now don't have anybody cast in this universe of color?
Right.
No one. How does this look? This is a PR nightmare. It really is. And honestly, the more they continue to do this and not recoup on things like this, the worse it's going to be.
All right. Well, I actually agree. It looks like Tenet kind of wins. It's kind of weird. We're saying Tenet kind of wins in a way, except Tenet is the only movie that they will actually keep on, and that's not even the best movie as people say either, too.
Really?
Right?
Oh.
See? She agrees with it too. So
okay.
Yeah. Well, moving on. Well, here's some hope for all of you fans out there. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they're currently making their way to Canada to start filming season 3 of The Boys. With production of The Boys season 3 happening very soon, Homelander is excited to not only be back in his suit, he's also excited for the spin-offs that Amazon has been planning as well too. But what about you? Are you excited to see what the deal is with Stormfront? And are you excited for the debut of Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy, aka the jerk version of Captain America? Mayhem, let's start with you. You just want to know what happens with Stormfront and that little beatdown that happens at the end of the season.
Actually, you remember, I want to find out who the mystery head exploder is. We had so many ideas and theories. Of course, just in all that aside, I am excited for season 3. It's so much so that I have the comics for The Boys, and I put them down, and I just want to watch the show first. I just want to enjoy the show first and the acting and whatever they do, and then I'll read the comic. This has been great acting, great storytelling, and I can't wait for the spinoffs because if it goes this way, like I could easily see me glued in for another 5 seasons. Honestly, maybe 4, but 5 definitely, strong 5. There's so much stuff going on, and then of course we have the villain of the year. You know, come on, Moff Gideon, come on, he's in there too. Like, come on.
Right. Right. How can you not like the show and everything, especially with the spin-offs? Interesting to see how they introduce the new cast of hero villains, we'll say,
Yes.
you know, and what happens to the rest of the boys? Are they back together? Is everything going on? What's up with Carl Urban's character? Like, yeah.
Functional families. I love it. Like this people like the boys at Umbrella Academy has such a dysfunctional rhetoric going on that I love. It's kind of like Bob's Burgers, but Bob's Burgers will kind of get me upset. The boys at Umbrella Academy, I will sit there and watch. And the Ozark. Oh my God. It's never ever simple with the Ozark.
Ozark just got canceled. Sorry. Ozark just got canceled. But go ahead, Leslie. Let's say, yeah,
don't say that.
explain this. They were canceled. Yeah,
No,
I believe so.
No.
Guys.
Yeah, I gotta look this up.
Somebody Google it for us. Google it for us. Let us know if Ash is talking crap. There's no possible way. They were killing that show. There
is no way they
but anyway,
ended that show.
Leslie, you and season 3 of The Boys.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I am so excited about season 3 of The Boys and any other season that comes after that. I don't know how long they can run with this, but I am in for it to the end, ride or die. This show is so different. It's so, there's a part of it that's so deviously funny, and there's so much intrigue and dysfunction in it that you can't stop watching it. It's like a train wreck,
Mm-hmm.
And even despite the fact that they have these and the only thing I can think is that they have this very 3 to 4 dimensional type of characters. They're not 2-dimensional, like, either good or bad. They're in somewhere in between. I think that's what's intriguing about the show, is that people want to see that. You don't know what's going to pop off. You really don't. From any character, you don't know. So so you can't stop watching it. You can't stop watching it. It's kind of hilarious too, some of the stuff that happens. Last season of the beatdown, let me tell you something. I wanted to be right up in there kicking behind. I really did. That's how passionate and emotional I got about that whole scene, about everything. So if you can draw me in like that, if you can have me completely zoned in and making me feel a certain way, or making me root with the bad guy, root with the good guy, and definitely hate the bad guy, you got me.
You just like the fact that you had all the girls getting in there, and they got the little beat down with all 3 of them, just kicking her while she's down.
I felt like I was at an urban fight. And you know what I'm talking about.
World Star, right? World Star, was that it? World Star?
Yeah, World Star fight where you turn your rings around and you put your Vaseline on your face and you take your hoops out. That's what I saw. Yeah.
Actually, that's 100% right. They all got superpowers, but they were just stomping her out. So it is what it is. J-Bo, you're confirming what I kind of read. They canceled it after season 4. So there's going to be one last season. I thought they canceled it altogether. Because season 3 left. Season 3? The ending of season 3? All I have to say is, if this is true and they don't decide to greenlight it after season 4, then I think they did this show wrong. And I think to fully explain the story that Marty is going through with his family, you need 2 more seasons at least. Because the way season 3 ended, I'm not going to spoil it here, but if you know, you know. Just 1 season alone, even though we'll get 14 episodes, I think. Nah. There's way too much. They build worlds and characters. It's so much intricate. There's no possible way. But
I believe there's going to be probably a spinoff.
Hey, you never know with the way CBS and NBC has been building up their brands. It's only a matter of time that another company would pick them up. Because do we forget, Cobra Kai failed season 1 and 2 failed on YouTube, while Netflix blew it up like there's no tomorrow. If another company goes and picks it up, Ozark may get sort of like a second life.
I don't
Well,
know
Um,
why.
I
Why
don't
would
know
they
about that,
cancel?
and I can see maybe a 4 or 5, but I will say this about it because some of the content is so hard to take. There can only be 5 seasons of it. Remember, when we watched The Sopranos, how many seasons did The Sopranos go?
oh my God,
Forever.
yeah, 12 seasons.
Oh, 12 seasons? Was it
I can't
12
remember.
Yeah,
seasons?
like 10, 12 seasons. Hold on, I'll check.
Sometimes,
10 to 12
sometimes
seasons. All
I
right.
don't know. I don't know if Ozark could go that far though.
But
No,
anyway, while Mayhem looks up for the next segment, I want you guys to go to
6.
www.artistclub.ninja and go and pick up your This Week in Pop Culture merch, This Week in Toy Culture merch, and
Take that
the
whole back.
cake. Don't forget, guys, to always cut the check because those shirts are out too. We got all 5 versions. We cut the check. This includes Mayhem, a Leslie check, myself, a Bergy check, and a Sammy check as well too. So go and check out www.artistclub.ninja for this week in pop culture merch. Moving on to the next subject, and that will be another Willy Wonka movie. Well, it seems that Warner wants to recast some of their projects, and that had that pretty much had Ezra Miller accepted in it. One of those projects is the prequel to Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Warner is looking to replace Miller's role with either Tom Holland or Dune star Timothy Chalamet. To me, signs point to Timothy Chalamet because we all know he's under the Warner project and Tom Holland's under that Sony project. But yet again, who knows? With Holland's popularity, do you really think he would fit to an unpopular, speaking to himself character? With Warner changing directions, who do you think would be a great fit? And do you know Warner was? Did you even know Warner was making another Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie? Mayhem's go with you.
First
Did
of
you
all,
even know?
let's talk about something way more important. Shout out to Mia. Thanks for supporting. Later on, we're gonna show off our shirts that we have. Definitely, I'm not wearing one right now, but Les, Hash, and maybe a special guest will show off some shirts that you can buy future. I'm helping create them. Oh, thanks. And that being said, shameless promotion aside, are we really doing this? Are we really doing? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory needs to stay as such. Whether you greenlight it for the revision or the old school one that you like, whatever. The movie was thick and dark when you think about it. Why are we doing a prequel? Tom Holland, say no. Don't cut the check on this. Don't cut the check. Say no. Don't have this one because it's why. Is anybody here a Willy Wonka family? Like, do we like this movie? You know what? How about this? How about we get Willy Wonka to play as? I'm sorry, Willy Wonka. Tom Holland to play as Frosty the Snowman, or to play a Christmas movie, or the Easter Rabbit. I don't know, just something other than this is going to be a failure, and they need to recognize this. Thank you very much, Mia. Shout out to you. Back to you, Hash.
You are like I mean, look, we grew up on the 70s edition Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which in our point was good. Then we got the Johnny Depp version of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which became more oddball than it was before. Leslie, do you see any of these two characters being cast as I guess the kid version of Willy Wonka, or we're just gonna pass on this Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie?
So, my opinion about this is I was a huge Willy Wonka fan. I love that movie. I love the older version of the movie. I didn't particularly care for the Depp version. I think that it kind of sullied it in some way, the magic of it, and they made it a big joke. So one thing that I will say about it is that I would love to see Tom Holland play a younger version of Willy Wonka. And let me tell you why, because nobody knows where this man came from. And if they could do that story right, if they can make it as magical as the 1970s version, then I'm all in to watch it. I really am. And I would put it in the same category as something like The Grinch or something like, the Witch, the Lion in the Wardrobe. These are the kind of stories that nobody knows where this mysterious, strange man came from. And it would be interesting to know his origin story. So I think the best person that could do that role would be Tom Holland. I think that he is very versatile, and I think that he could pull it off. And in some ways, he kind of looks like, the 1970s version of a younger version of Gene. So I'm all for it.
All right. I guess you guys have all spoken. I mean, look, one says yes for another Willy Wonka, one says no. What do you guys think? Should Warner continue and I guess cast their version of a good Willy Wonka and continue the Wonka storyline? And yes, could they get the magic that Gene Wilder once did? And don't forget, Gene Wilder kind of changed that script for himself too, changing it from the original book of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to focusing on Willy Wonka, and at the end, still focusing on young Charlie. Yeah, that cast is still pretty good, especially with Veruca Salt and
Yeah.
especially the ever stopping gobstoppers, whatever they're called. Anywho,
Yes. Yes.
and speaking of Tom Holland and getting into the Marvel line, should Marvel change their Punisher logo? With today's cancel culture world, they are demanding the Punisher logo be removed and changed. But should Marvel step in and change the logo, or should they make a statement about it? Mayhem, let's go with you. Should this cancel culture world, do they even know what they're talking about when it comes to Punisher?
So no, they don't. They don't know who they're talking about. We've discussed this numerous times. But I want you to understand how common sense works and how people, not common sense is, if Marvel changes the Punisher logo, what happens to the old Punisher logo? People will still use it, right? Is it the whole point for them to change it so that way they won't use it? It doesn't make any sense. What Marvel needs to do instead is to patent or copyright their logo so other people can't use it, and other organizations, and they can sue and stop and desist these people. Because once again, Punisher is not about, I'll just say, about the evil, racist, and supremacist things that these people are using the Punisher logo is about. In fact, it's totally opposite. We've talked about this. So if Marvel changes the logo, which I hopefully they don't do, because if it won't stop there. There'll be other logos that people will use in future times, and Marvel will have to change it. But if Marvel changes it, they look weak, and then they diminish the Punisher, who the character is altogether. It doesn't make sense. Marvel, put your penis on the table. Excuse me, put your foot down the door. Whatever. Copyright it, patent it, so that they can stop and desist using this. Because these people are evil. It's apparent. They're taking a logo, rather than making their own, from a character that's all about justice in a vigilante way. That's all I have to say.
Right. I mean, you're kind of right. And then also, no one actually knows. And then everyone kind of doesn't even know the story of this vigilante and how he became the Punisher. Leslie, does Marvel need to step up? Exactly what Mayhem said, and literally put their foot down on the so-called canceled culture world and just go, you don't know Jack?
I'm
This
so
time?
damn tired of this. Honestly, I really am. So, if one of these jerks was wearing a Superman logo, did we change Superman's logo? If it was a Batman T-shirt, do we change Batman? Listen, I could walk out with this Boback shirt on tomorrow and cause a lot of ruckus. But does that identify me as who it is? No, I'm still the jerk wearing a T-shirt.
Right.
I mean, come on now. This is so ridiculous. This is a character that has been in Marvel's universe for God knows how long. Why would you change that symbol? Why would you take every other comic, every other movie, everything we've ever seen, and go back and change that over somebody who decides that they're in an uproar over this? I really just think people got too much damn time on their hands. Give me a break. My clothing does not identify who I am. At the end of the day, I'm still me, but I gotta wear a piece of clothing, but that don't say nothing about who I am.
That's true.
This is just ridiculous. I'm so damn tired of this. I mean, honestly, this is ridiculousness.
I agree.
Sorry
Claps
to
ahead.
do
Say a lot of on the back.
I mean, honestly, the stupidity behind this, you have nothing else to do. Go get a job, get a real life, clean your house, read a book.
Read a book. Seriously,
Take a shower.
read
Seriously,
read
get
the
off,
Punisher book.
get off of
We get
Twitter and all that other social media with this nonsense.
we get it that that the Punisher in the very beginning represents a form of law enforcement, and we get it. But on top of that, you have to understand where and what Frank Castle had to go through for him to become the Punisher.
It's
Yeah, man.
crazy.
Half the
It's
Marvel
crazy.
stars are vigilantes or anti-heroes. Come on. This
It's
is
crazy.
ridiculous.
There's two things I want to bring up. First of all, what would even change the Punisher logo to? Can anybody picture changing that logo for Frank Castle, or there's 2021 or whatever who would decide to
Maybe
take
the
it?
judge's mallard. Maybe you could use the judge's mallard or something. Oh wait, that looks like the Thor hammer. Pick one.
So then the second thing is he's a vigilante, right? Point and simple, but he's extreme. Like Batman would not approve, but he looks up to Captain America. In fact, the only person that could get away with beating up the Punisher without him retaliating is Captain America. And if you think about it, what does Cap stand for? Truth and justice. Granted, he had his eyes open, but still, like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't correlate. Once again, like people are saying in the comments, like Leslie's saying, they need to grow up. They need to stop using this logo. And honestly, Marvel needs to step up and stop them. Hit them with the stop.
But
What if
listen, there are
what if they
plenty
do
of people
this?
that go out in costumes and do stuff. That does not mean
All right.
that is attributed to the character that they're portraying. This
Yes,
is
but
ridiculous.
it looks like no one reads it. It's proven a point time and time again. Just because a group uses a logo, it means that the other people do not read what certain labels are for. When it comes to fictional characters, we go through this all the time where Wonder Woman is constantly being misused, even let alone for other things, including a college like West Virginia uses the Wonder Woman logo as their logo, and DC gave the okay for it. We're looking at the Superman logo going through so many different color changes. And we look at the Captain America logo also going through so many changes. But we also forget, and no one actually reads except for some us fans out there, that even Punisher himself puts on the Captain America cowl and suit and shield and wears it to represent Captain America because he understands what it means to be Captain America and what it means to, as Mayhem said, for truth, justice, and the American way. Now, as we sit there and complain about it, how about educating people? And that's right, in the form of a video game. The director of Last of Us 2, yes, we all learn from video games. When it comes to learning, if you're not reading a book, a lot of times you guys have all picked up a video game to deal with a storyline. This includes the Miles Morales video game, which already Marvel has already killed Miles Morales. But yet, because of unpopularity of comic book sales, Miles Morales ended up getting a video game. But that doesn't mean sales don't stop. They also revamped him just a few years ago. So how about doing a new version of Punisher? Let's educate you guys. Well, the director of Last of Us 2 has posted a wish list on Twitter listing all the games he would like to develop. This list included Cowboy Bebop, Ghost Rider, Half-Life, and yes, Punisher. Cheer for joy. Yes, baby. Cheer for joy. With the cancel culture world just happening right now, I would love to see John Barathol in the video game too. And not only for fans, but also educating people on what is the Punisher. Guys, all of us here has played Last of Us 1 and Last of Us Part 2. Do you feel like with the way that storyline was made, you can see a Punisher similar version to this, or like a Call of Duty version of Punisher? Mayhem, let's
Hell
go with
yeah.
you.
Hell yeah. Before you even said anything, I thought Punisher, right? I thought Punisher being told in the way of Max Payne 3. And if you played Max Payne 3, it was awesome. It was great. It's dated a little bit now, but it's still great. You mean to tell me you're going to get the director of the Last of Us series to do this? Not only is it going to have great storyline, but it's going to be a movie. Like, it's going to be a whole movie sometime in the future, which is great because if we're being honest, the last Punisher 2 movies were, I like the first one better than the second one, but come on, we can do better.
Wait. What do you mean
talking
by
about the
first
Dolph
one?
Lundgren one?
Wait, yeah, you're talking about Dolph. Exactly, you're talking about Dolph Lundgren.
That was a good one.
Oh, we're
The first
talking
one,
about with John Travolta in it.
No, the John Travolta one was trash. I'm gonna say that honestly. The first
I
one,
was going with Dolph Lundgren.
The Dolph Lundgren one?
Dolph
Yeah,
Lundgren.
that's the one. That's the
All right,
first one.
continue.
It was good. It's it's dating. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying we need a better movie. I liked it. I would buy. Actually, I think I do have it here, so I can't talk too much crap about it. But that being said, forget that. We do a Punisher video game. It's going to be amazing. If you haven't played The Last of Us or The Last of Us 2, especially the first one, is a great movie. It's a great storytelling. A producer and company, they knocked it out of the box. What I'm more worried about when it comes to the Punisher video game is that now that with the cancel culture going on, they're going to say that this game is too violent. This game does this and da da da. They're going to contradict each other. And because nobody knows what the hell they're talking about, it's going to make a raw. It's like when Power Rangers went from, we have blasters, to like, oh, I'm just going to fight Kia. And certain moms were like, oh, they fight too much. And my kids watch it and now they want to fight. So I'm all for it. I need Marvel and whatever studios to speak about this Punisher thing going on with the cancel culture and pretty much bring up all the points Leslie said. And just because you put on a costume doesn't mean you represent us or the ideals that we put into these characters, these fictional characters at that. And I would buy the hell out that game. I would buy the pre-release. I'd buy the legendary edition. That's normally like $99. It comes with like a figurine or something. I'd buy it and I'd put it on the show. Back to you.
You want the extended version so that way you get all the DLCs exclusive and give me
Oh,
4
yeah.
more storylines because I'll be playing this for God knows
BS.
where.
They give you like some kind of, well, except Call of Duty. Call of Duty gives you like Night Ninja guys, but they give you like a figurine or whatever.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, I got the game and DLC. I'd buy it. I'd buy it because Punisher is bad butt. I can't curse on this. Bad butt. Full batch.
Leslie, do you see this happening? Do you see the developer of Last of Us 2? Do you want like another would you like John Bernthal to come in, or would you like the original? Which Punisher would you like to come in to voice Punisher? Let's just go with that one because you have at least one or two favorite leading men to go into this.
I like John Bernthal playing that doing the voiceover for it. I really do. I mean, although my original introduction movie wise to the Punisher was the Dolph Lundgren version, which I have to say, granted, it was in the 80s, but it was effective in the 80s. I had never seen anything like it, and I loved it. I love that movie. I'm just happy that they're not making a Grand Theft Auto version of the Punisher. And this is when I think that people would have issue with how violent it is. This is going to have a storyline, and similar to how The Last of Us is, you're going to actually be engaged. You're going to go through the emotions of this character and why he is the way he is. You're going to suffer through his life, and then you're going to have to make decisions that are going to have consequences at the end of it, because every decision he makes has a consequence and an effect. I am very excited about it, and I definitely would get the game. So absolutely, I would do it. But I want to say something about the fact that people would cancel this game because they think that it's too violent.
Go ahead.
Every game we play, even if it has a cartoon character, there is a bit of violence in it. Right. Every cartoon you watch on TV, there's violence. I remember growing up on Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner. There was violence. I remember the Three Stooges was violence. I had a cousin that actually threw a brick at her brother's head because she thought it was going to bounce off. Let's just say this. At every moment that happens, one, if you're buying that for your child and you're not inquiring if it is adult and you don't know what it is, shame on you for letting your child watch it. Shame on you.
Right.
And the second thing is, if you're letting your kid, you're using that to babysit your kid, know what your kid is playing. Know what they're doing. Sit there and watch them play the game. And explain to them what about the violence in the game. If they're using a gun and everything. Look right now at Fortnite. That's a violent game. But people got their kids playing it every day. Is that making sense?
They have a bit of a controversy. It has building skills now. They actually Epic Games put up a nice little disclaimer saying that it develops building skills because...
What's the rating on that?
It's just BS.
Is it everybody plays the game? Is it ER? What is it? Rated for everyone? E for everyone?
No, it's for mature.
Thank you.
Les. I agree with you.
You see that M on there? You see that M on there? Then that means that your kids should not be playing it, or you should be supervising it.
I agree with you, Les, but companies don't like to speak out and say that. Since my earliest recollection of this was Power Rangers. Once again, blasters, pichu, pichu, and then mom started complaining, and then all of a sudden they went from fighting and maybe they had swords, whatever. Instead of telling parents that you suck at parenting and you should be watching your kid and teaching your kid otherwise, and I'll be honest with you, it's generally white parents, because people of color, we're always telling our children to, you can't do this, you can't do that. For just being black or whatever, they'll mess with you. Right. So with that being said, right, and it's crazy too, because we'll do certain, you know what, that's racial. Never mind. I'm not gonna go to that.
No,
So
no, it's not racial, it's cultural. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I go to a game, first of all, your child ain't got $50. You go to the store, you go to GameStop, and you lay down $50 for your kid to play a game, and you don't ask the question about what is in that game and what kind of content it is.
Like, let's yeah, but here's the other thing too, okay? With the cancel culture world, we forget that back in 1994, there was another game that caused a lot of controversy, and it wasn't just that, and that was the entrance of Mortal Kombat. Everyone forgets that this was the start of every rating system under the sun, which included a lot of parental advisory that also added to every single song as well too. This was part of this mix as well too. But yet again, let's not continue that one. We're getting excited about the movie, which is Mortal Kombat. As we are apparently waiting for the trailer for Mortal Kombat, they have recently dropped the images of the movie. While other news sources have already been told that the movie will start with a 15-minute battle of Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. No word yet on when we will actually see the trailer, but at this rate, just the talk alone is enough to get me to watch the movie right now. And do you guys think this will be the 2021 go-to movie? And will Capcom follow with their own version of Street Fighter the movie? Mayhem, let's go with you. Are you excited for Mortal Kombat, especially for the intro of the first 10-minute video of Scorpion versus Sub-Zero?
Minutes. My matches don't even last that long. Come on.
Right?
Listen. What's today's date? Today is the 24th. All right, check this out. I want you to take a picture. I want you to remember this. And when that movie comes out and it's trash, remember I told you so. Remember I told you so on this day and also the week before. The movie is trash. I told you so. However, if it isn't trash, I will admit my faults. And that's all you're going to get from me, because Mortal Kombat is trash. I'm not looking forward to Sub-Zero and Scorpion fighting it out for 15 minutes, 10 minutes. What about the storyline, Craig? Okay, what is Raiden doing? Who's the villain now? Are they rebooting? Are they continuing? Is it Chronica? I'm good. Oh, wait, if they got Superman and they cross over, that'd be dope, from Netherworld.
No.
DC.
No, that'll be a good movie, yes. But you're saying, look, I'm for this. I said this last time as well too. I'm looking forward
to see it.
Because if they do right, I feel like they should redo the whole DC line. But let's go with Leslie. Leslie on Mortal Kombat alone. Look, we gone through the most controversial video game ever in the 1990s to now the go-to movie of 2021. Where else can we go?
Listen, if it's trash or not, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it because I watched every fighting video game that came out, even Street Fighter, God forbid. I watched that too.
Oh my God.
And I find something to enjoy in it. Mostly Jean-Claude Van Damme's music video with MC Hammer. That's just like the best. I will watch it because it's just daggone ridiculous, but I will watch it. I think that it's neat to see martial arts on film in any capacity, and especially Asian actors playing in those roles. So I'm happy for it coming out, trash or not, I'm going to watch it.
All right, but okay, let's just say this movie does swimmingly well. Mayhem doesn't believe it. Do you feel like with DC not having a handle on things, do you feel like the development team of Mortal Kombat should take over the range for DC, and maybe we can get, instead of a Justice League movie, maybe DC versus Mortal Kombat?
Oh no, maybe
I'm
too
going
soon.
Leslie
It'll be
first.
too soon. Oh,
See,
No,
none of me.
no.
No,
I don't
no.
know. I don't know what you're seeing because DC ain't showed nothing yet. So I don't know what you're seeing here.
We're seeing the turmoil and the rebranding of certain things, and while they're going through a quick rebranding stage, we have no idea what directions where we're going when Henry Cavill's coming in, because we already know we got Wonder Woman and we got Aquaman. We we have sort of 2/3/4/5, like four Batmans, and they can't decide which Batman they're gonna stick with now. We're we're drastically waiting for Batman Beyond. I mean, this list just continues to just pile. Let's go with this one. Pile up and pile up and pile up, as if we just watched Jurassic Park with the. Um, look, it's just become a giant pile. But if Mortal Kombat does well, let's start with Mayhem first. Do you see Street Fighter jumping on the bandwagon sooner or later?
oh God, no! Take my eyes, but not the shirt. Oh my God, no! Please, please, no! Please look. Here's what we do. If what we can do is make it into a series. If Mortal Kombat the movie does well, let's continue it as a series and build characters and go from there. Where would we go with that? No, they did horrible. We had Street Fighter the movie, then everything else was like
Right.
alpha animated. Oh no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I would be interested in seeing kung fu and actual kung fu techniques and styles and great graphics because we have the ability to do it now.
Right.
It's I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think they're gonna get the budget and the great writers to do it. They're not gonna do
Okay.
it.
So Street Fighter will be not happening at all. Leslie, do you feel like Street Fighter will eventually
Not
come back out of the ashes of Jean Claude Van Damme?
not for some time. I think that might be down later on down the line and everything. And I do believe that he will probably make a guest appearance in the movie
Mm.
because
I could
that man
could
loves to
you
show his face and everything else.
at this rate, Jean Claude Van Damme should show up as Charlie at some point, and then just like toss him out. That
Oh no.
was right. Jabo says Street Fighter is dead. You know what? As far as video games concerned, they seem to be pushing that envelope over and over again. But Mortal Kombat seems to have done very well with Mortal Kombat 11 having two storylines and adding not only Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator into the game, but also adding Sylvester Stallone's Rambo in the game and having the age-old question, who could take out who in the video game? And if we've not noticed before, on Mortal Kombat 10, you also had Aliens versus Predator added onto the game as well, too, with a little bit of horror, with adding Jason and Freddy Krueger into the mix. So Mortal Kombat's done very well when it comes to getting certain blockbuster characters, not only through Warner Brothers, but through Universal and New Line Cinema. Speaking about Marvel and DC and what directions they're all going to take. Well, right before we get to that one, guys, don't forget to go to artistclub.ninja to pick up your amazing merch and t-shirts, everything that has to do with this week in pop culture. Go to artistclub.ninja and grab your shirts today. Um, Now getting into the fun part, and that is, can Marvel succeed using the DC formula? Well, with DC once owning the TV airwaves, with shows airing not only on the CW but also on a CBS and NBC, then creating the DC Universe app, releasing some amazing shows like Titans, Stargirl, and the Harley Quinn animated series. Is Marvel going to surpass DC in the television programming, or is Marvel creating something a little bit more different with short movie style episodes? And should DC be learning from what Marvel is doing right now? Mayhem, let's start with you. Do you feel like, Marvel's learned from what DC's done, except Marvel's going, no, we're going to do a movie version of our cast and crews?
Well, now that it seems like they have the rights to the series characters, I can say yes, but not at the moment. They need to like finish off the movies because I think one of the greatest things that Marvel has done is they kept us wanting more. They don't give us too much. They don't oversaturate us with like check this channel out for this and this and this, and then run back and see if it correlates to the movie and if it correlates with the series. They're just like everything is in the series, and so now Disney Plus, and now we're actually getting more series. Actually, I said movies. Everything was in the movies, then into the series, and then at this point we can wait because when you have too much conflicting ideas, then it doesn't make any sense. Can they succeed with DC formula per se? No. If they were to go into the TV series, they would have to have actual rights, and everything would have to correspond, kind of like what they did with Shield,
Right.
but better. And I think honestly, they should wait another 2 or 3 years, and I think we'll all still be home for whatever reason. The economy will change, and we'll be all into it. But at the moment, give us less because we'll want more, versus give us more and we'll want less.
Right. Oh, look who happened to just join us today, right now, too.
Yay!
Hey,
Anyway,
Bergy.
What up, y'all?
Leslie, let's continue the conversation. And that is, do you feel like Marvel's surpassing, or does Marvel still have ways to go to surpass DC?
I kind of agree with Mayhem. I think that Marvel should just, not follow the path of DC, but do their own thing. And I think that that's what's made them successful. And maybe, just maybe, DC needs to revisit what they're doing so that they could be as successful as Marvel. They don't have to do it the same way. I don't think that the fans want it disseminated to us in the same way. We like how it is setting up. It's just that I think DC has to be a little bit smarter about their content as far as sitting it out there, and they have to kind of not emulate Marvel, but see what Marvel is doing that makes it such a success and then make it their own. So I think they're doing well with that. I agree with Mayhem. Too much is too much. But when you have us starving for that cracker, we're going to eat that cracker like it's a whole meal. So,
Yep.
Right. So pretty much we're just literally titillating on these new style versions that are happening right now, with DC pretty much starting it all, and Marvel's just still playing catch up. And while we're in love with this new method, now is DC going to probably change? I wonder if DC is going to do it. Bergy, with DC shows happening now, do you feel like sooner or later DC is just going to stick to their app and just do cinematic episode versions?
I mean, right now it's the only thing that they have that's actually working. So why fix something that's not broken? DC
Right.
now with their apps, with what they're doing on the HBO Max show, with the stuff that they've got going up. I mean, Teen Titans is going great. The animated Harley Quinn series is good. I kind of caught a little bit of what Mayhem was saying earlier. It's really the only thing they've got that they can actually hang their hat on, and their animation movies. They have yet to put out a blockbuster for a movie-wise that's going to basically rival something that Marvel has done. Their closest thing was the first Wonder Woman, and beyond that, they haven't done anything since. Marvel's going to catch them, I think, in some of their TV series. They've got money to throw behind it. So you got to figure Vision is their first foray into it. Yeah, it's a slow build right now, but the payoff on this, I think, is going to be tremendous, and it's going to lead us down the road. That's what they're going to definitely do. And then you got to figure with, the next one is the Winter Soldier and Falcon. That is going to set us up even more for success with Loki. Loki's going to lead into the What If series. Now you've got the movie series. They're basically setting themselves up to success. DC's still trying to figure out how they open the door to a DCU universe that's actually going to work. They just don't even know what they're doing.
Right. It seems like DC, yet again, especially with the comic books, and I blame it on the comic books, there's way too many storylines that fans are attached to, and then no one can figure out which storyline we want to deal with first up until what we like left. You shake your head and we're going, all right, 52 series was good. Then we want a new version of animated series. But out of the animated series, we want the Batman Beyond story. But out of the Batman Beyond story, we want the Justice League story that explains why Batman is the way he is, and which goes into Batman Beyond. There is way too many this to that to this to that. There is no functionality. When we talk about last week for Marvel, especially when we talk about Avengers versus X-Men, there was at least a storyline that led from House of N to the Avengers, and from the Avengers back into the X-Men, and from the X-Men back into Marvel versus X-Men. There was an actual continuing storyline, which also includes the Spider-Man. DC has always had a problem with creating something good. Then while they have something good, we're going to create something extra good too. Then we can't figure out what TV show we want to do. Because right now, Metal Batman seems to be the next storyline that everyone likes, but we can't even get Justice League out of the park. God damn.
Here's where DC messed up. First of all, Bergy, like a shirt in the background. Go ahead with it then. You know what I'm saying? Burgerpedia. Anyway, here's what DC messed up. Instead of trying to do a thing, I love that shirt. Instead of just trying to do a thing where it's like one coherent universe, they should have said, okay, we don't want to follow what Marvel's doing. We're gonna do our own thing. What they should have done was like in every movie, this movie or this event takes place in XYZ universe. So now you're making movies for universes that exist, but at least doesn't leave fans like, well, where does this come in? So then now instead of actually doing the follow one simple line of train, you could do multiple movies, multiple series or whatever, and fans will eat it up. We'll eat it up. I would love to see a Batman Beyond series or movie. And then put the Justice League that was in the future, and then make reference to something else, even if it doesn't fully correlate. And Marvel right now is going to beat you up. I see you, Les. I'm going to let you know. And Marvel's going to kind of beat them to it because now they're going to do the Multiverse Matters. We don't know exactly what they're going to do, but we know they're going to be talking about Multiverse Matters. Imagine had they done the Joker and be like, this event takes place in universe, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then
which they haven't explained, which DC and Warner has not explained which Joker have we gotten. Leslie, go ahead.
The problem is, and I've said this before, they don't have fans creating their content.
Thank you.
Right.
So if instead of just having some writer from Hollywood come in and take something that they don't have any invested interest in or any emotional tie to write this script, bring people in that are fans and good writers and recreate this universe. Give it give whatever it is that you've done before, give it an enema and then start doing something new. I'm serious because this is the problem that is happening with DC. It is a ball of confusion, and understandably so. There has been a lot of transition up at the top, but the problem is that they do not have fans coming in and doing it. Now, I will say this. Reginald Hudlin is coming and he is going to be doing Static Shock. This is a man who is a fan of this industry. And I am hoping that when Static is produced, when it comes out and we finally see it, that we see a change, a transition in DC's content, because they're going to have to equal the success that movie is going to have. And I believe it's going to be a game changer for them.
Well, we have Ben Affleck, who's a big Batman fan too, and Henry Cavill, who is now a larger Superman fan.
Ben Affleck
is this the right Batman formula? Yeah, go ahead, Berg. He just wants to check.
I was going to say, basically, the problem with it is the fact that they have too many, and not to use a term that we were kids, like too many chiefs, too many Indians, not enough chiefs, in a way, like, flip it. Like, they have too many that have their hands in the pot, and everyone thinks their saying is more important than the other. You need to basically do like Marvel did. Put one guy in charge, Kevin Feige. One guy in charge who actually knows the source material and knows the content and creates it. The problem is with DC, they've got 20 people and they all think they know it, but they have no idea if Batman is Superman, Superman's the Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman. They don't know what they're doing. So they think this story that their cousin's kid wrote was a great story. The Justice League, Batman versus Superman, the key thing that keeps Batman from killing Superman, Martha. Like, are you serious? That's the problem with it. Marvel basically just has one guy in charge and everything goes through him. And now Disney is putting that same guy in charge of their Star Wars franchise. Like, that tells you how much they have faith in them. DC doesn't have one person that they can put in charge to run everything.
They said they actually put a statement saying Feige is not responsible for their Star Wars edition just yet, and they're saying Jon Favreau is still in charge for a Mandalorian.
But just for Mandalorian, Feige is in charge of the next set of movies. That should tell you something. He made a $3 billion movie. DC can't say anything along those lines. They can't even say they've made $1 billion movie. They can't. Yeah. This man's made what? Like, between all those movies, the 22 Marvel movies, probably $18 billion for Disney. DC can't say that for the last 30 movies that they've done or produced across the board, no matter what. So it's depressing.
Like I said, they don't have a fan. They don't have fans doing it. They have big blockbuster. They're looking more about what kind of money they get, and not necessarily pleasing the fans, which is going to bring in the money and and not only that, the fan base is going to stay with you because a fan base is loyal. So they're not looking from that perspective. They have all these big Hollywood producers and directors coming there and saying, well, we're going to make this big blockbuster movie and it's going to have all the bells and whistles and everything. And yet still we go there and we watch it and this is a piece of junk because you could tell that there was no vested interest in what you were creating. There was no love for it. And you didn't take the care in creating it. You didn't care what the fans were saying, nor did you do respect to the character that you were creating. You didn't. It definitely boils down to, yes, having one person at the top who is a huge fan is going to make sure that you stick to that content and you give it the justice that it deserves, and you stop bringing out all these big blockbuster Hollywood people who are thinking about money, and you think about longevity.
Right. Well, speaking about the long game and investing, I want all you guys to go to www.artistclub.ninja and invest in us, and that is This Week in Pop Culture, where you can get some amazing shirts like Dad Bod Boba to Bergy and Big Bad Boba.
Big Bad Boba.
And also, we have the amazing shirts of Cut the Check. Not only do we have the Cut the Check shirts, but hey, we got the Mayhem Cut the Check shirt. We got the Leslie Cut the Check shirt. Got the Bergy Cut the Check shirt. You even have the Arash Cut the Check shirt. So go and check out www.artistclub.ninja and pick up your This Week in Pop Culture shirt. Now, as we continue on, spoilers ahead for everyone. But stay. We have visions, and that is going into. That's right. That is going into WandaVision episode 3, which is called Now in Color. Let's first start. Let's start with the intro, and that is with the Partridge Family / Brady Bunch music intro, and let's make things happy. Well, sort of, what it seems. Then we enter the house looking like it's the Brady Bunch house. We start with the house call doctor stating that Wanda is about 4 months pregnant, and as Dr. Nielsen explains the pregnancy in fruits, Vision says, "What does 12 hours look like?" As Vision walks the doctor off the property, he sees Herb outside trimming the hedges. Then Herb's to be in a daze and starts cutting into the brick wall. But as then sooner or later, we get into the first Hydra commercial. Mayhem, let's go with you. Out of everything that's happening from going to the first thing and going to the first commercial, what did you think of what's happening with her? Because he seems to be in this daze. He starts trimming the hedge, and all of a sudden, he's going to the brick, and he doesn't know where he is.
I thought she lost concentration, man. If you watch that episode, it seems like her powers are out of whack. So when her powers are out of whack, everything else, like all the people there, are kind of like given a state of conscience. They kind of realize certain things, and they're actually able to retain their memories. When he's trimming the hedge, that was a great counter. He's like, you're trimming the hedge into my wall. And he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And he keeps doing it. Like,
right.
That was awesome. That was this is by far, I think this is probably the best episode because of so many things. I'm going to let Les and Bergy talk because last time I went on a tangent and there's so many great things, but it was
all
dope.
Right. We'll go. Apparently, Leslie has a different role for today, but we'll continue with Bergy. Bergy, what did you think of the first, I guess, 7 minutes into the episode and jumping right into the first commercial, which is the first we've seen of them going into the first commercial immediately?
I mean, it was definitely interesting the way they did the whole storyline of it. And I agree with Mayhem where when her powers went on the fritz, it seemed to be like, my opinion on it is they're in like a dome or something like that. And the powers are just expanding, and it's taking over more and more. No, I know what you're saying. But like where they seem to all of a sudden he's in a daze and he just starts cutting through concrete. Like, no offense, I know hedge trimmers. You don't cut through concrete like that. So in this alternate universe, I guess you can cut through concrete with them. But, the way they're doing it, it seems interesting with some of the stuff. And if anybody caught the doctor's name, his name was Dr. Nielsen.
Right.
That's the Nielsen ratings. So if we know the Nielsen ratings, so as soon as I heard that, I literally, all I could think was Mojo. I'm like, we are definitely going with the TV thing there now.
Sort of, because don't forget, we're going to get into this one. Because right after that one, Vision walks back into the house and tells Wanda that Herb is acting a bit weird. Then Wanda recuts the scene as if Vision is super excited for the baby. Then they go into the nursery and they continue to put the nursery together. Wanda's happy at this point. She even turns the butterflies real. And as they fly around into the room and out the window, at this point, I thought they were going to go into a musical number. But let's talk about that little. Let's talk about the interesting cutscene. As you said before, it seems to want to stay. Come on, let's make it happy. Remember, we're talking. This is now a Partridge Family theme of keeping things happy. Bergy, continue where you left off.
So the one thing I did notice with that is that, like, all of a sudden it seems like when Vision seems to get something like his mind's cloudy, I had to keep rewound that episode a couple of times because I thought that my system glitched.
Right.
Like all of a sudden I froze or something, and I'm sitting there like, what the heck just happened? So I hit rewind and I kept sitting there, so I left it on the screen. I'm like, went to like 7 minutes and 42 seconds,
There's
43
that
seconds.
click
And I'm
cut.
like, wait, that didn't, but it looked like they cut the episode and they just redid it. And I was like,
Right.
So she is, anytime anybody seems to change the narrative that doesn't match her narrative of being happy-go-lucky, we're like in the 60s and we're the hippies that are happy, she changes it and rewinds it to back to where she wants the narrative to go.
Partridge Family intro.
Well, yeah, Partridge Family intro, but she wants to keep everything happy and light, and she doesn't want to dwell on the negative and the evil thing. I mean, granted, I bless her because 2020 was negative. We don't want to dwell on that either. We need to cut the episodes too. But she seems to be focusing more on that, and I think it's actually ruining the continuity of it because these guys seem to be going back into a fog in a way.
You sure about that? Mayhem, what did you think about that little cut scene that when Vision comes back, he's instantly kind of like let's go back to that scene again.
Okay, so when that happened and she made him redo it again, it made me pay attention to details. So we know in the beginning, Brady Bunch, Mary Tyler Moore. If you pay attention to how everybody's dressed, WandaVision, whatever, the panel is in a hexagon. Yet again. You come in, it's a wider shot of the house, That includes the garage, because we knew they had a car, but we didn't see really the garage, right? Little things, the house interior, the paintings. Let me tell you something about these paintings, right? One, if you look at one of the paintings, I think toward the kitchen, it's like with the building, and it looks like Sokovia. It looks like Sokovia, like in Age of Ultron. Another one was with the butterflies, which could represent life and vision. There's even Joy soap in the kitchen, but it's called Koi. I don't know if you guys caught that. And I say all that because it seemed like everything was on autopilot. Then Herb went away. And then Vision caught on to what was going on. And then she said, boop, she fixed that. But then she left everything as is. And I'm like, holy crap. Wanda is the villain here. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Wanda is the villain. There may be some other forces that are there, but she's letting loose too much.
We don't know just yet. You're jumping way ahead. We don't know just yet because don't forget, because as the two walk back into the living room, Wanda's water breaks,
right?
And does it ever? The water breaks, causing it to raid into the house, and Wanda once again uses her powers to dry herself and Vision off, and the house goes dry again. Vision continues to freak out as he runs over to Dr. now Stan Nielsen's house. After Vision leaves the house, there's a quick knock at the door. Well, who could it be? Oh, it's Geraldine. She comes over to borrow a bucket because it seemed to have rained buckets in her house. You know, because apparently when it was raining at Wanda's house, it also rained on everyone else's houses as well too. Wanda starts to freak out and she puts on a jacket. Then while looking for the bucket, the jackets seem to change over and over and over again per scene. Oh, a fur coat. Anyway, Wanda has Wanda's so far along at this point that Geraldine delivers Wanda's baby. Stick to that line. What did you guys think when Geraldine walked in and that little WandaVision freak out that was happening during that episode? Not only did it include the jacket, but also included a stork that would not go away. God, Mayhem.
So when Vision left, right? Did y'all catch that he had an Infinity Stone in his head? Or is it just, and then he ran out bare-faced, not like how he's supposed to be dressed, right? His movements kind of reminded me of Quicksilver, especially when she was so far along. And I was like, okay, there goes that Quicksilver moment that we saw in the trailer. When Geraldine came in, I was excited. I was like, oh, this is it. She's going to reveal that she's Monica Rambeau, but it didn't happen. It seemed like she came here kind of like Agnes, like she had a purpose and either lost it or just played around with it. It's like something stopped it. The stork was dope. I love the fact how she kept trying to use chaos magic and it wouldn't go away.
Right.
That was, but that what does the stork mean? But then the stork knew to kind of go back into the room and pose when Geraldine was there. It was also dope that they used the regular TV tropes that whenever an actress is pregnant and they don't want to make that character pregnant, you never see on TV the belly. They use all sorts of things to kind of distract you from it. And it's kind of like, well, how come you didn't see the bowl of fruit there? You know what I'm saying? And then she delivered the baby, and I was just like, what's gonna happen now? Bergy, your thoughts?
For me, it was weird because
one more thing. Here's the other thing though too. During this time, also during the chaos magic, all the other items in the room were freaking out as well too. While Geraldine was in the room, Geraldine never comments during this time. God, Bergy.
Well, she did comment, and she said this. She goes, and she saw the painting just basically being a propeller, just spinning. She's like, I know there's a logical explanation for that, but kept going. And it's like, no, there's no logical explanation for that. That doesn't happen in a normal house. Like, what are you thinking? The stork thing, it kind of got me. Like, she kept trying to make it disappear, and the stork was like flapping its wings, like, nah, you ain't getting rid of me like that, fam. I'm here. Like, and it was like it kept flapping its wing, like, no, I'm not going away. I'm not disappearing. I also think Stark. Like one letter off from Stark. So is Stark also somehow playing a role in this in a way? Like, and she views Stark as like an annoying thing because Stark has basically ruined her life in a way, per se, with the stuff from previous. And now in this part, she views that as like maybe it's something that's leading to a future. And you see everything going on in the way it seemed, like you said, the tropes with the, oh, she's got a jacket, then she's got a bucket, then she's got the fruits in her hand. And the way she's leaning forward, it's like she's trying to hide it every which way possible. And Monica's like, oh, hey, an apple. And she takes a bite of it. Where'd the apple go after that? She's not still holding it. Where did it go? Like, we always see these little glitches and stuff like that. And then the way they play on it, it was perfect. And then they go into the room, and I'm like, oh, we're just going to see the stork sitting there. She's going to be there. And the stork is like, perfectly set in the painting. I think she was finally able to get her powers under control in a way to hold the stork there.
Right.
But it seems to be like, obviously her powers are walked and gone. And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm about to pop out a child, not multiple childs. And the way it all happened, dude, it's mind blowing the way they're doing that.
Because in the beginning of the episode, Dr. Nielsen only mentions a child. And they play with the option of between a Tommy and a Billy. Wanda wants a Tommy. Vision wants a Billy. But Vision, I can say Billy returns. Vision returns with Dr. Nielsen, but the doctor doesn't seem shocked at all with Wanda giving birth. Vision, who looks happy, is also upset. He missed the birth of his child. Wanda then continues to give birth to a second boy. The joy of excitement is in the air. Vision once again walks the doctor off the property, but Vision starts to notice his neighbors are acting weird again. Herb is now joined by Agnes, and they've been whispering to each other. They mention Geraldine and how new she is to the neighborhood. Then they cut back inside the house, and Wanda remembers that she has a twin. Then Geraldine starts talking. She not only mentions her brother by name, she also mentions Ultron. Wanda starts to question Geraldine, and Wanda's magic is used. Vision walks back into the house with Geraldine nowhere to be found in sight, and Vision starts to go back. When Vision starts to go back inside, he starts to explain to Wanda that the neighbors are acting weird again. And Wanda yet again recuts the scene, aka rewinds it, into a happier Vision and end the scene. Well, sort of. Guys, Mayhem, what is going on during that crazy fiasco?
I'm just going to say this. We're probably going to talk about this very much so on the tape. Every Wednesday at 10. Just check us out. Yeah. So definitely, Tommy, I see your questions. I hope I can answer it. If not, check this out. So, commercial, Hydra. Obviously, we know that, right? The kid that's delivered, I don't know if you noticed, but it kind of has a space right here that's red. It could be just children altogether, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that seems a little suspicious to me. When when Vision comes back with the doctor acts like everything was okay. That solidified for me that everybody knows what's going on to an extent, and they play their role. Fast forward to Agatha, and I forgot the guy's name now, the neighbor. He's just like
Herb.
Herb. There you go. They're just like, you know that Geraldine isn't part of the story per se. She doesn't have a family. She's from the outside, and he's gonna tell Vision something, but then
Right.
Agatha was just like, don't do it, fam.
Don't say anything.
Like,
yeah, but,
right.
but that was going on because it looked like Herb, who seemed to be in a trance, seemed to be out of that trance during that time.
So I have a theory that particularly Agatha is helping everybody else stay conscious to an extent, but she's only using it for her own worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, as soon as she left him, it kind of like he reset. He's like, I'll check you on the flip side.
Right.
And he went up. And I was just like, that's weird. That is weird. But Agatha's the witch. She is a powerful witch. She teaches Geraldine Wanda her powers in the comics. So we'll see what happens. Did anybody also notice that Geraldine is kind of wearing Shield colors? The old Shield uniform colors?
Wearing the old Shield uniform, yeah.
Ooh, buddy.
Right, but let's go with Geraldine. Geraldine at this time, as Wanda is like remembering, I had a twin, and she never says the name, but she does. But Geraldine does.
Yep.
I think what that was is it was because the baby was born. Emotionally, she was like when the second child was done. I think she had an emotional kind of like pause in a way. Like she had control of her powers. She wasn't having that mental breakdown. She saw clarity, and she was like, and you saw her. She looked up. She goes like, I'm part of a twin, you know. And then it's like, and then that's when you see outside where Herb is kind of like, yeah, doesn't something seem a little strange? And everyone seems to be all of a sudden catching on. It's like the pause there was. Because leave it to a makeup artist to notice makeup.
I gotta look that up now.
Right? There was a pause there, and that's when I think Geraldine picked up, like, all of a sudden, she's like, yeah, that's right, Ultron. Your brother was killed by Ultron. And then she was like, wait, what? And that's when you saw her get the angry again, and all of a sudden, she wanted to be happy again, and that's when, we see what happens. But I think there was a clarity there.
She sits back down all of a sudden, poof. Yeah. Go ahead, Leslie. Leslie's got a question.
Okay.
No, Leslie's got a question.
So, as you all know, I did not get to see the episode 3 yet.
Right. I hope we're not ruining this for you.
But I do have a theory. My theory is that Wanda has a fractured mind due to the death of Vision. And that what she's doing, which is what people do when they are going through immense grief or immense trauma, her psyche is fractured. So anytime she gets to a point in her mind where she thinks of sadness or it comes to reality, she changes it to make herself happy. This is similar to like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, in a sense. And that the background characters, everybody that's walked into this universe is actually people. She may be in an institution for all we know. Her body may be housed at an institution, and she's working through her aspects.
Having her vision, technically.
Right. She's working through all of these aspects of her fractured mind while she's being institutionalized. And each of these individuals are somehow showing up at the institution, talking to her, wondering if she is okay. And therefore, like if you're sleeping and you hear somebody talking in the background, you dream about that person.
Yes.
You dream about that person, that you make them fit into your dream. And this is exactly what is happening here. And this is how we're probably going to see this scenario play out, because the only person that can heal her with the powerful mind that she has is herself.
Well, actually, there is another person that actually sort of helps her in a way when it came to the comic books and everything. But there's a lot of strange things happening that, yes, your Dorothy thing does kind of make sense, but doesn't explain the events, what happened after Endgame, which is the giant magical question: what happened after Endgame to have her go into this trance? But guys, continue off where Geraldine all of a sudden is poof, disappeared. Vision comes back into the room, and we get a reset yet again of of the same scene.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I thought she killed Geraldine. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought
Right.
she killed Geraldine. We're not gonna say just yet, but I thought she killed. I was like, oh, child.
Gone.
But it seems like once again she's regaining control of what's going on, of creating her perfect fantasy as much as possible. The problem is she's only focusing on really the aspect of Vision and the twins, the children. Everything outside is not being monitored as closely, which I believe is why Agatha and other powers that be, Shield, AIM, are trying to like navigate their way and do whatever they're trying to do. Because let's be real, Agatha, Shield, Sword is not there to help her per se. They're trying to get control of her powers because of what she's able to do. Because I'm not sure if Vision is actually back, but if so, she resurrected somebody from the dead. You know how powerful that is? In all the comics, and even just superstition in books, that is like the one power that nobody has full control of. You understand? Unless you're like a god
Right.
tier. You know what I'm saying? So, Bergy, take it away. I'm sorry.
Those are the things that she wished had happened if he had survived. So this is what you're saying. These are things that she's thinking, that she's making sure that that part of what she envisioned their happiness being that she couldn't have, that's why she's perfecting everything. And in all reality, she's not really regaining her conscience. She's still losing her conscience because she is not dealing with her trauma.
Right.
Well, who's creating the trauma? Because it seems like someone's creating the trauma and she's piecing it back together, or someone's trying to fix her and she's creating her own chaos. Because we keep going back. This episode alone, normally we've seen her rewind once. This is the first time she's rewinded not once, but
Multiple
twice.
times. Yeah.
Finish off, Bergy.
And I think we've all, like, everyone has seen The Truman Show, right?
Yeah.
The movie Truman Show with Jim Carrey. Does anybody notice a lot of similarities with this one here? It's like everyone's got like a part to play in it, but the director isn't, like the director outside. The director of the story is Wanda inside. She's one changing the narrative to fit what she wants for her happiness. As Leslie said, her fractured psyche. She sees her future was Vision, no longer there. She's built the future. She wanted children with him. She built children. So now you have that stuff, and yeah, I agree with that. She did. She definitely she grew it up with it. But I think also when she was part of the different stuff where she was downtime from the Avenger powers or Avenger missions, she watched TV because she was with Vision in that compound.
Well, remember, she was isolated. She was isolated. For her isolation.
Right. What else do you have to do? Watch TV. We've seen that for 10 months. We've been isolated. What do we watch? Netflix, YouTube. We're that right now.
How she grew up also,
Right.
In Sokovia, they grew up with, American TV.
TV. Right.
Yeah, old TV. And we see that a lot too. You talk about anything you hear, a lot of the older countries, they watch older television now. So that's where she's getting a lot of this stuff from. I noticed the sword thing. She seemed to, like, Wanda got a little bit upset that she noticed the necklace. And Geraldine at first was like, what are you talking about? And she went to hold it and she's like, oh crap, I'm wearing this. Like, she forgot she was wearing it when she came in. But I didn't notice her wearing that when she was first in there before Wanda got her memories back. And then all of a sudden that appeared. It felt like it appeared because she removed an illusion charm in a way and she saw it. And then that's when we got upset.
But we also noticed that this is the one time also that sword emblem was in the episode once. In all the other episodes, they've been around them several times, especially from picking up the toy, especially from when we saw the beekeeper outfit. This time it was actually on somebody, but granted it was reversed and it looked like something out of Star Wars. That's where she fully noticed it again as well too. Yeah, I know. Go ahead, man.
Looked like the Gray Jedi.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is I don't think she's familiar with sword, although it is possible that she is. However, what she figured out is from the previous episode when the helicopter flew in and it was red, she figured out somebody was trying to impede on her happiness. And it's not hard to figure out it's sword. So then when she sees the same symbol as she saw on the beekeeper at the end of the episode, as well as on Geraldine's pendant, I also agree with Bergy. I believe that there was an illusionary charm for that pendant. I believe she had it, and then whatever happened, Wanda dispelled it. And then Geraldine was like, "What are you talking about?" And then like when she touched it, it's like she remembered, and then she was scared to speak. So that the rabbit hole that causes. So I don't think Wanda knows about it, but she's aware of who Shield might be, and now we're gonna see a decline. I think of paranoia, because now she knows for sure that people are trying to get to her and her children to fix things.
So one thing I have a question for, and it's kind of a weird one. Where does this take place? Is this taking place obviously after Endgame? Before
after Endgame.
It's after
So this is
Endgame.
all
After Endgame.
So this is all after Endgame. So Sword could technically be in play because Shield fell because of what happened in Winter Soldier, where what's her face there, Black Widow put everything out onto the web and ruined Shield and everything like that. So Sword probably came into play. She may have had something to do with it because after Endgame they probably went, "Oh, she's really powerful, and this woman's not really all up to par per se. Maybe they need to try to control her." AIM is in the background working. She sees this. So I think she might have a little bit of an inkling as to what it is. She doesn't trust him like she didn't trust Shield.
Well, it has to be Sword, because at the end of the day, Sword is going to be the one that introduces the new Captain America and the Falcon and Winter Soldier storyline as well too. And we still don't know how Wanda got there. And if it's not explained in this series, it literally has to be explained somewhere down the line. If we don't get it then, we'll definitely get it in the Madness movie that is Doctor Strange. But yet again, we go back to the episode, and the next scene is Geraldine flying through the air, but it seems to be pushing out of a bubble, a force field on the way. Wanda's thrown her straight across out of the town, we'll say, and all of a sudden she hits the ground and she is surrounded by special forces. The knocked out Geraldine is surrounded by military, and we end the scene with her with a knocked out Geraldine surrounded by forces. What I find very odd is that the military that is in the scene are not wearing any type of decal or anything around her. So who do you think grabbed Geraldine? And what's interesting is, now that we know that she's in a set town and there is a force field around this town, did Wanda place this force field, or is someone else controlling this force field that's around this town? Go ahead, Mayhem. You got a lot going on.
Answer your question first. First of all, I think it's either AIM or Special Forces, could be Shield, whatever. They met her with hostility because they don't know who she is. She hasn't been verified. The reason why I'm so hype about this right now is because this is probably the best scene that I've seen throughout the whole season, if not the episode. Here's why. When it changes, because Vision asked Wanda what happened to Geraldine, and Wanda's like, "Oh, she had to rush home." And instead of Vision like, "Did she go through the back door?" He just leaves it alone, whatever, right? The scene goes from a 4.3 format, right?
Right.
To a 16.9 widescreen. Oh my God. If you are young or you are born in this means nothing to you. For all of us who grew up with that tube television, all right, who had to go to channel 3 and play our video games like this, and even get upset when they offer certain movies only in widescreen and our TVs were only full screen, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were just we noticed that immediately. We were like, "Oh, is this happening?" So
right.
That's millennial drama. I'm sorry. That's baby boomer drama. I'm sorry, but it's technology. And then here comes Geraldine, poof, flying out the force field. And then what I noticed immediately, besides that she was wearing Shield colors, is that she had chaos energy surrounding her still. Now here's the thing. I've never noticed before, whenever Wanda uses her magic, chaos energy still resonates after the task is done. Granted, she didn't kill her. She sent her off, whatever. She landed safely, obviously. It looks like she didn't kill her or hurt her back. Right. But it's just like, how is that chaos energy going to come into play later with who Geraldine is? And is Geraldine obviously going to go back? Best scene of this episode, hands down. Bergy, let them know. Take them to church.
So when I said earlier where it's the Truman Show, I feel like this is her creating like her chaos energy, and it's just expanding and it's taking over more and more and more of the town. Because if you've noticed, as the episodes have grown, we've seen more of the town. Right. So all of a sudden we're starting to recognize more and more of the town, and now you're seeing more people involved in the episode. The last one, they focused on just her and her house and her neighbors, because that's where the chaos epicenter basically is, because she's about to give birth to 2 imaginary, fictitious characters. But where she sends the, Geraldine out kind of as like a, hey, you're a thought bubble, I don't want you anymore in my story. She just tosses her. It was the same thing when that happened with the screen went from 4:3 to the widescreen 16.9. I was sitting there, I was like, they just showed us like, hey, we went from the 60s format to the now format of the way it is. And I geeked out like same as you did, ma'am. I refound it like twice just to make sure. I was like, did they just change the technology as this? Okay, that's kind of cool. But if you noticed on the outside, it looked like they had generators or some type of system on it to keep the bubble from expanding. So they're trying to control her chaos. Are they trying to control it, or are they trying to siphon it off? So, because they could use that probably against her later on if they figure out a way to zap her power or neutralize her.
We're talking about it's mojo. It's about ratings. It's mojo. It's about the ratings. That chaos, that drama, that magic.
What do we care about?
But if it's mojo, why do they use human beings?
She's having a crisis, and that they're trying to contain it. She's having a crisis, and that's it. That's it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, Mojo could be behind the scenes, but I don't think his henchmen met Geraldine outside, because they wouldn't be humans per se.
Yeah.
They'd be alienoids, whatever, but they wouldn't be humans.
I think outside is Sword and AIM per se. They were trying to figure out what the hell just came out. So their reaction is like, is this a hostile threat? Is it Wanda? Exactly. Is it Vision? Or whatever it is? She's throwing something out.
I think they're aware that she's having an episode, and they're trying to contain it, and they're sending people in to try to get an assessment of what's going on with her, and to try to get her out of this crisis that she's having. And that's what I think is happening.
Well, as we sit there trying to figure out what is AIM and what is SHIELD and what is all these different branches, we will be discussing that on Wednesday with a new show called The Take, and we will be discussing what all these mean, because I think some of you fans are a little confused between AIM and Sword, because if Sword's in play, so is the X-Men. And that includes a lot of forces that are happening that are in space. And if this is true, then the X-Men have been around the whole entire time while SHIELD was around. Because if they're helping SHIELD, then I guess what Fantastic Four, we explained this last time, Fantastic Four isn't in play because of the events that happened in New York City. But yet again, we'll explain a little bit more on Wednesday. But Mayhem, do you have some questions you want to answer?
There's so many questions to start off with. I answered pretty much. Oh, because how the heck Wanda's familiar with the sword symbol? Once again, I don't think she is familiar with the sword symbol. She just recognizes it as a threat. It is possible that she was introduced to Sword, and then maybe for whatever reason she came here and things happened for whatever reason. Yeah, that's exactly it. But I don't think she's familiar with it. I just think she recognizes it as a threat because it's not part of her plan. Any corporation, any organization was not part of her plan. It was, I'm going to live out my fantasy here. Forget the people who actually live in this town. Forget them. It's going to happen with me. I'm going to make it happen. Tom, I see. Tom, you. Thank you very much, bro. Tom is out here dropping gems and references. I don't know. I don't have any.
If you have comic questions, you should ask Tom. Tom has knowledge that is beyond anybody I've met.
Previously, Tom and Tim, I saw what you were writing. I agree with most of everything you said. So thank you very much for keeping the airlines open. Thank you very much. I don't know. I don't have any other questions. I don't see things yet.
As far as the Avengers standoff and anything, as far as their storylines is concerned, we don't know exactly where the Marvel MCU is going, especially when it comes to standoffs and everything else. They seem to be on a different version of a lot of things than what we're used to. We explained on Wednesday that a lot of this has to do with the Phoenix Force. And if this is true, the X-Men are sort of in play. And with WandaVision acting a certain way, this should lead into the Phoenix Force. But if it doesn't, there's a whole nother, there's another thing in play. Wanda straight up said to Geraldine, she knows that symbol.
So it's possible.
Which makes me believe that
the X-Men
she is having her crisis and she wants to deal with it on her own, and she knows that they're going to try to contain her, and that's why she's, she didn't kill her, because if she thought it was a threat, she would have killed Geraldine. She doesn't want them to intrude on her moment of trying to piece together her happiness. That's exactly what's going on right here.
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, I think it's possible that she knows of Sword. We don't have the history just yet. In between Endgame and now, it's possible she could have been introduced. Now, she says she straight up knows that symbol. That's because I believe because of the previous episode where she saw the symbol on the helicopter and as well as on the beekeeper's back, and she recognizes it's a threat. So she keeps seeing it. You know what I'm saying? So now it's 24. I don't think she knows it per se.
Right, because when we look at the helicopter, it is in the hand, it is in the shape or in the colors of Tony Stark. And the second one, the beekeeper outfit, even though it's wearing a sword in the back, and it is wearing or is a bee representing Hive, which is part of AIM's logo.
Yeah, it was just like,
yeah, she doesn't see it as a threat because she would have killed Geraldine.
And I think that's where you're saying, Leslie, you're saying earlier, where it's like she's trying to fix everything. It's almost like she's in like a coma. And like you were saying earlier, where people are talking to her. Like if you've ever thought about you have a dream or you're sleeping, you hear other names or voices, stuff like that. You dream certain things. Maybe when she kicked Geraldine out, it was like, wait, I'm not ready for this to end yet. You need to go away. Like, I want to fix this. Don't bring up Ultron. Don't bring up Petro. Don't bring up the death of my brother. Like, she's getting rid of that because in her own mind, she's like, yeah, I know what happened, but I don't want to deal with it right now. Like, I'm struggling with the death of this, the loss of my love life. Like, she was gone for how many years, and all of a sudden she's back and she's battling. And then after that, we don't know what happened between those time frames.
I think she's having a mental breakdown, and this is the result of a mental breakdown with someone who has the ability to bend reality. So this is what's going on with her. She's having a mental breakdown.
All right, as all of us are going to answer Tom real quick when it comes to introducing the Phoenix and the mutants and everything. The mutants have actually been in play since Ultron, because the kids had no idea who the father is, and Magneto has always been in the background. Also, S.H.I.E.L.D. at one point had a list of mutants that were on their list. I believe one time some of the missing list or whatever included some mutants. So the mutants have always been in play, just not around. And when it came to certain scenes, granted, at one point they got to the West Coast, the X-Men were in play during the East Coast, and they may be a minor storyline where Mojo's been around during Endgame or during those scenes. Mayhem, you want to add to this? Or Bergy?
Yeah, Bergy.
I was gonna say, because when you said that where they've been around for a while, I heard they had in Winter Soldier where they had the 3 helicarriers and they could take out like 1 million people and whatever. They announced certain names. Doctor Strange, the movie hadn't been released yet. Like Bruce Banner, certain things. Like they were trying to take out threats. Some of them, if you pause it quickly enough, you can see X-Men names, but they're not X-Men at the time.
Well, Logan's original name is on that list.
Right. But they weren't technically mutants at the time. So they were taking future threats out. Did they know something because of Arnov Zolam's like algorithm? And he knew something that we didn't because of everything, how fast the world was changing. Maybe he knew that somehow Homo sapien would be Homo superior versus the normal way it was. And he might have had an inkling of the future with that. Like, we don't know. So it leads into a lot of what ifs. And I think that's the comic, the cartoon series at the end of the year that will explain, hopefully, most of this. Yes. You know?
Remember at one point too, Marvel was also trying to downsize their popular mutants because they were being used for other production companies per se. So now that we sort of got them back, I do think it will be Secret Invasion that plays a big part into it. How else are you going to explain where the X-Men have been all this time? What I want to know is the chaos magic that's on Geraldine and how that's going to affect everything, because once again, we've seen Wanda use her powers, right? But whenever she's done with that foe, they don't crackle or sizzle with chaos energy afterwards. So to be fair, Monica Rambeau, Geraldine Photon, is contaminated with chaos energy. So what does that mean going forward? You know what I'm saying? And also, is she going to go back into the sphere? As far as when we're talking about mutants go, what story are we going to get from Mutants 2? Are we going to get the Phoenix Order again? Were they out in space? Because we could explain Fantastic Four being out in space. They were lost
Negative
in
zone.
space, cosmic
Yeah,
ray. They come back.
this is just going a little too far with the Shia Empire with Invasion. They're already going to go through Invasion,
I
hence the
can't.
reason why Chris Evans
Actually,
goes in.
Actually, not necessarily, because what Tom may be referencing is the Mcron crystal.
Right.
Yes.
You guys remember that story? So
Yes.
if they're out there fighting with the Mcron crystal, the Phoenix Force is also out there. When all this happens on Earth, it can impact them and reset everything. You never know. They can be on their way back. Time travel. Hit my mic. Time. The travel it takes to go from one planet to another universe is different. The time is different, so they can kind of use science as well for that. But we'll see. The Mcron crystal, man, it's a dope. Check it out. It's a dope
It's a
story.
storyline.
Right.
I think the multiverse of madness is where we're going to see the X-Men or mutants introduced into our world fully and explained. And I think it's because of her, with her fractured mind right now, she's going to somehow fracture or warp reality enough where she's going to combine multiverses. And maybe that's how we're getting it. Like,
remember, the House of M, she deletes the mutants. In this reality, she can actually snap her fingers back and rebirth the mutants or bring back more heroes. Go ahead, man.
Not just this reality, throughout all of reality.
yes.
It wasn't just the universe. It was all of reality. That's all.
And there was a comic that was done for What If. So in case, instead of her saying no more mutants, they did one of no more supers. So she removed superpowers from the equation completely, which was a different take on it. Not just no more mutants. They were like, no more, nothing. It's gone. Everyone is just normal. And she really changed the game on that one. She could have done that, which would have been. And I agree.
You would think that, but I don't think Feige is going to go that route. Even though it would be an amazing thing with Captain Marvel versus Rogue and a Brotherhood. But here's the bigger question: which Rogue would you take, or are you recasting? Because there's word going around that the original X-Men minus Quicksilver are going to be in play. That's the rumor, and we don't know exactly where Marvel goes with this. Yes, with the original cast in play, because they would fit the age of the current cast. They put the younger kids in; they don't fit the.
If it's a timeline thing, they can have the younger team, but they need to recast the older or present day team. Now, I would love to see. She wasn't called Captain Marvel; she was called Ms. Marvel.
Marvel,
right?
yes.
That's when she beat up the Blob Saturday on Fox 5 X-Men. That was dope. I would love to see that. Here's the problem with introducing X-Men, particularly. There's a lot of history, and then you also have to choose what teams and what mutants you're going to bring in. Because honestly, you can't bring in Rogue without Mystique again. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to establish the familial bonds between her and Nightcrawler at some point in time. Bring Gambit back.
Wolverine.
Right. Gambit, Cyclops. I don't know if they want to bring in more. That might be a thing. He was popular as well, even though he was only for the show. So it's like you got to figure out where they're going to bring the mutants in and the X-Men team and how they're going to go from there. Because if they do it like Spider-Man,
he's got a point. Because it almost becomes the Avengers. Which part of the X-Men are worth putting in to create a storyline? Because don't forget, the X-Men, including Cyclops to Storm to Wolverine and Gambit, including Jean Grey, they're all strong and powerful storylines. And you have strong and powerful. They're all alphas in a way. Yeah, Bergy.
I think they're going with the originals. They're going to bring Professor X. He's going to bring in Cyclops. They're going to bring in Beast. You're going to have Jean Grey or Ms. Marvel. You're going to have Iceman.
Marvel Girl.
Marvel Girl. They're bringing those 5 or 6 in. Then they'll introduce Logan. I don't think Logan gets introduced in the first one. I think he's in the second one. They're going to set the tone, and then you're going to have against Magneto, because the big thing there is it's always been Magneto versus Professor X. They each have the Brotherhood. He has his X-Men. They're going to do that storyline.
Right. And we also forget that She-Hulk's in play with Mark Ruffalo in the storyline as well, too. Who are we to know that he doesn't go to Canada, fights Wendigo, and we finally get the introduction of Wolverine? We forget that She-Hulk is in play to introduce not one character, well, actually to bring back 2 characters but also introduce, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about close to 8 characters just in the She-Hulk series alone. And one of them is including bringing in Ms. Marvel, the new version, before she gets her own series. Anyway, without
out with him,
I'm just going with the line because I remember the list, but I don't want to say the names because the names have changed. But I know there's 8 major characters, and 4 of them are gonna make us scream like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which one of them includes some claws. Anyway, that's our show for the day. Please go and check out our website. It's for some awesome merch. Go to www.artistclub.ninja. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, artistclub.ninja. You can pick up some awesome shirts like these. Pick up the Cut the Check shirts. All proceeds help us out to, help promote and keep the show going just for you guys. Without further ado, in the bottom right corner is Michael Mayhem. You can catch him on his show with Last Stop on the L, and you can catch him on Wednesdays with The Take.
Don't forget to call us 888 The Take.
Anyway, the lady,
press
the young lady right below us is the lovely Leslie. You can catch her on Fridays with her show called The Tingling Tea, and you can catch her also on Saturdays with her other show called The Bitten Apple, and check out her other multiple shows and her Facebook page.
Yes.
You can catch this gentleman right here every Tuesday with me with This Week in Toy Culture, and also you can join us on The Take as well too. My name is Arash Zandieh. Thank you all for joining us. Go to our website, buy some merch, and enjoy the day, guys. We'll see you all next week. Good night.
Peace.